Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Joe and Ro Talk Toastmasters. I know everyone is like right now excited and at the same time a little confused. What are we doing here, like on a Wednesday evening at 8? Why are we here? So we are here simply to have conversations. There is no structure to this podcast. It's not an interview. We are not going to question, though I am going to ask you some questions, DTM Brilliant, because I'm not going to let this opportunity be missed out. But here we are to have some wonderful conversation with veteran Toastmasters, experienced Toastmasters to gain from their experience and knowledge and what they have done throughout their Toastmaster journey. With me, I'm Joanne, and with me, I have my very fantastic witty co-host, Ron, and we welcome you to this Joe and Ro Talk Toastmasters. Before we start, few ground rules. One thing, please remember, keep your cameras off, keep yourself in mute, because we want the focus only on DTM Brilliant today. However, if you guys have any questions or want to pitch into the conversation, feel free to do that through the chat, and we'll, get you guys involved through the chat. So feel free to be active in the chat. Thank you so much. Now, Ron, would you like to give Brilliant's introduction, or do you want me to do that? I would suggest you do that. You're his friend.
Give the official introduction, and then I'll give the unofficial one.
Okay, so official introduction and unofficial introduction. Distinguished Toastmaster Brillian. I don't think anyone in this chat room has never heard about. आपके बारे में सबने सुना है, आपके बारे में सबने देखा है, आपको तो देखा ही होगा. But for those who don't know DTM Brillian, he is a Toastmaster, a veteran, more than 15 years of experience in this fraternity. He joined Toastmasters in the year 2008. And in 2015, he was the District 98 Director. In 2019, he was the Regional Advisor. And the current year, he was also the District Parliamentarian. इससे ज़्यादा अभी क्या बोलूं? यही बहुत ज़्यादा है. For a newcomer like me, this feels like I'm standing, amongst a very polished and very successful leader. So now for the unofficial introduction, to know the secrets about DTM Brilliant, over to you, Ron. Please let us know.
Okay, so now you got the official thing. I'll tell you the official one. So I've known Brilliant for now over 11 years. The first meeting of my club where I attended in Agnel, Brilliant was that time a division director, and he had come to start our club. And that's when I first met him 11 years in 2012, August 2012. So you can imagine how long. And of course, he's an inspiration to all of us. He's like the repository of Toastmaster knowledge. The amount of speeches, education sessions, the amount of keynotes that he's given, I don't think anybody in our district has done that much of this thing. I'll tell you a funny story about Brilliant. Usually in our club, any doubts or anything about this comes up, we usually say, we'll ask Brilliant, just check with Brilliant, check with Brilliant. So there was this new Toastmaster who had come into our XCOM, and he was like, okay, check with Brilliant, check with Brilliant. After the meeting, he comes to me and says, sir, can you tell me what is the URL of Brilliant? I want to search Brilliant. Search Brilliant.
Okay, so he thought
Brilliant is like Brilliant, like a Google of Toastmasters, So I said, no, it's a person, and he's much more funnier and better than Google. But I mean, he's got that much of knowledge, and of course, best part about Brilliant is always friendly, always willing to speak, always willing to share stuff, And wow, his speeches are like amazing. So that's the informal introduction. Yes.
Yeah.
And we are very happy to have it. So a round of applause for him.
Yes,
thank you,
a round of applause. Virtual applauses are always appreciated, my dear friends. Thank you. I can see the virtual applause happening. Now, to that end, it's almost 5 minutes and just we have spoken. Let's let Brilliant speak. Hi, Brilliant. How are you today? How do you feel?
Look, stressed out after that introduction and the pressure that you put in. I need to check. I unfortunately don't have the apparatus handle, but I'm sure the heartbeats are up. I removed my smartwatch so that it doesn't beep. I'm excited, of course. Joe, I was thinking कि इसके rhyming में मैं कुछ करूँ लेकिन कुछ मिला नहीं.
I said Rojo के साथ बोलो, but she didn't like it so.
because I'll tell you guys, all my fellow Toastmasters, 2 weeks back, Ron messages me, Jo, chal ek podcast karte hain. And doing a podcast was always in my mind because it's also in the project, right? In Toastmaster project. I said, no, karte. I never took it seriously. I didn't think he was serious. Then after a couple of days, he says, we'll name it Jo Ro Bolo. And I said, अरे भाई लोग बोलेंगे जोरो बोलो जय माता दी. Because ऐसा ही सुनाई देता ना when you write it, जोर से बोलो जय माता दी. That's what I felt. So I said, no, we are not keeping any kind of bolo or anything. Let's
मुझे
keep it
पूछ
very
लेना
simple.
था. I would have
Yeah,
said
we should
Joe
have
and
actually
Ro
gone to
Capo.
him, but we needed
Joe
some
and
real.
Ro Capo.
Joe and Rocapo. Now I get it. Why
We
Ron said
don't need an
he-
R counter. We need a PJ counter, you know.
I know. So jokes apart, let me ask one question to you. DTM Brilliant, I'm very new to Toastmasters, so I've seen you very less, but jitna dekha bahut tagda laga. My question to you is, I felt like you were always a good speaker, even before Toastmasters. If so, why in 2008 you joined Toastmasters?
It's
Like,
a big
what's
story.
the- Yeah,
It's a
please
big
go
story.
ahead.
It's a
We are
big
here
story.
for stories. थोड़ा short करके बोलना. but
Flashback.
ठीक
हाँ,
है.
flashback बताता हूँ.
हाँ.
I used to be a part of a youth organization, Rotract, which kept me engaged for a very long time. And then suddenly, because of age, I had to move out. Those are for youngsters, and then I realized I'm getting older. Nothing to do. So there used to be cable TV those days, 120 channels, and I had the remote in my hand. I would just watch channel after channel. Ad जैसी आया, channel switch. Ad आया, channel switch. And my better half, Vaishali, she would always get frustrated. She would ask me to go get bread, and I'll say, हाँ जा रहा हूँ, हाँ जा रहा हूँ. One fine day, she happened to hear about Toastmasters from one old man of Toastmaster, Arvind. They both work
Who's, by the
together.
way,
They
just
were
entered the
colleagues.
room.
Oh, coincidence.
Yes.
So both were colleagues, and he spoke about Toastmasters, and Vaishali thought, "Ah, Brilliant ko bahut acha lagega. He loves to talk." So she said, "Nothing doing. You have to go." So November 8th, 2008, that fateful day, she kicked me out of my couch and said, "Go join Toastmasters. Take leave." And that is a day, and today is the day. She regrets pushing me out of that couch. Because वो बोलते यार तो Toastmaster के अलावा कुछ और करता है. So I think while yes, I used to speak in school, college during debates, elocution competition, and essay competition. But attending Toastmasters, I realized that there is so much to learn. And as they say, the best way of growing is to never stop learning. The continuum is most important. You need to make sure that you learn. It doesn't matter from whom you're learning. It could be a 10-year-old Abhi whom I have made a video on, or maybe a 70-year-old Arvind. Everyone has something or the other which can be learned by people who don't have experience. A wise person had once said, "We learn best from mistakes." And a wiser person like me said, "I don't have all the time to make all the mistakes, so let's learn from others' mistakes." So I joined Toastmasters and I'm learning. I continue to learn every single day.
Okay. Honestly, your wife's loss, your couch loss is a gain for District 98. That's what I will say. Hamara bhala unka.
Hey,
Whatever.
young man is on the. Hi, young man. How are you? Hey, Arvind. Good to have you.
Hi.
Okay, so Joe, let's start with the topic at hand, shall we?
Please go ahead, please.
Yeah. So today's topic is how to create an impact on stage without eggs. Now, Joe was asking me, what is this eggs business? So
Yeah.
anybody who goes on stage, one of the biggest fears is to get pelted with eggs or some sort of sada hua tomato or a shoe or anything that comes in hand. आजकल तो मोबाइल भी फेंक के मारते हैं.
No, I don't agree.
iPhone
Toastmasters
फेंकेगा
is
तो
a
मुझे बता दो.
No. Toastmasters is a very matured and mannered, what do you say, sitting. People just उठ के चले जाते हैं.
No,
कोई मारता
obviously you've
नहीं.
not gone to the right club, so let's not. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm inexperienced. Yeah, so go ahead, please.
So basically that was the idea, that how do we create an impact on the stage? So this whole series is about some practical stuff that Toastmasters in the club can use in the next speech, in the next meeting. And basically we want to be as practical and hands-on as we can about this topic. So impact is something which we need to work on, all Toastmasters need to work on. So Joe, let me ask you first, what do you understand by creating an impact on stage? What do you think is impact? Then we'll bring Brillian in after that?
Yeah, you want to start with me? I am a novice. मुझे कुछ नहीं पता, तो
Think,
मुझसे
I
शुरू
mean,
कर.
think about it. How do you create impact on stage?
So to me,
Other than
impact,
throwing things at people, yeah.
no. So to me, creating impact is if the message that I want to deliver has been delivered and the audience has got it, then I think I have created an impact. That is a very simple game. I mean, that's what I think. But yeah, if I want to know what Brilliant and Ron, both of you guys
Yeah,
think.
but before that, let's ask the audience also. No? Can you type in the chat? What do you think
In the
is,
chat
what is
box,
impact
guys.
mean? Yeah.
What do you
Let's
guys
read out
think
some of the responses here.
impact?
What is impact on stage? What do you think creates impact on stage? And what is the definition of impact on stage?
If we are able to, Amit Dudani says, if we are able to emotionally connect with the audience.
Authentic.
Santosh says, be authentic and vulnerable. Meera says, what we want to convey. Thank you, guys. And Sunita says, impact is when the audience is responding. Okay, that's also a very interesting take. Impact is when the audience is responding. Ron, back to you first.
So
What
for
do you
me,
think
impact is being memorable. That is for me what impact means. I come on stage, I give a speech, and maybe 1 or 2 years later, still that speech people remember because there is something about that. Now, for me, Dhananjay Hetarachi, right? I see something in you.
2014.
You remember
Yeah.
that? How many of you, show of hands, have seen that speech here? Yeah, I think most Toastmasters have seen that. I see something in you. And Brilliant, you remember when that speech was actually came out, the Toastmasters district went crazy. Every Toastmaster meeting, people were just pointing at each other and saying, I see something in you. I don't know what it is. Or somebody would say, I see something in you. I know what it is. You're going to be the grammarian. So it was really, that speech was so impactful. That line was so impactful. And even today I'm talking about it. How many years must be? Like 4-5 years, easily more.
No,
Since
2014. He was the world champion of
2015, yeah.
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by impact. The audience doesn't forget you, doesn't forget your message. Even when I'm talking to some of my juniors in work, sometimes I use this line, I see something in you, and they think, boss pagal ho gaya, but that thing has impacted me in many ways. So,
unless he's a Toastmaster, pagal hi lagega, wo alag baat hai. But Brilliant, back to you. Please
yes,
tell us what you think is an impactful speech.
So imagine driving down a hill. There's an auto rickshaw in front. You are in the driver's seat, and suddenly the auto brakes. That creates an impact. Not just you, but people around you also sit up watching what happened. Right? When you mentioned that you want to convey a message. Now, a message is conveyed in multiple manners. It's not just the, I would say, words that you use. It's about the speech in entirety. And one of the reasons why I love the element of impact is many a times people just lift content from what is available and try to put it across, which means kisi ka baap, kisi ka beta, and it is presented as something else.
Yeah.
Kisi ka pota, right? So it really doesn't help. Impact is when I would not say 100% of the audience, even if you are able to make a difference in one member who's attending, a person in the audience who gets positively affected. I don't want to put it in a negative sense. Negatively, many people can. But when we talk of impact, it is that impact. When that one person comes and tells you, Ron, you know what? This portion when you spoke, I was so emotional. And as someone said in the chat, it's a mix of so many things, and everyone has a different meaning about impact. For me, impact is touching the life of a person in the audience in a positive manner. It could be one, it could be many, it could be everyone. Ideal scenario, everyone, but we all know the 80-20 rule. So even if you're able to impact one person positively, be it emotional, be it in a motivational sense to say, wow, I want to try what Ron had tried. I remember Ron had tried something of going away from non-vegetarian food for a while. And I kept thinking, yeah, isko ye motivation kahan se milta? Ek din mein bhi boli. So that impact creation comes in from one day to day long. So if your speech, your message, I don't want to classify it only as a speech. It is the message through the speech that you want to send across that can bring that change in one person at least.
Thank
let-
you,
yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Sure,
Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, John. Go.
So
Yeah.
I had a question to this. It's very interesting when, speakers say that use your own original material, right? But it's so difficult. So what do you suggest, especially for newcomers like us? How do we use original material? Like, where do we find that inspiration? What is the source for that original material?
Thank you for asking this. The answer is very simple, and I learned it at Toastmasters.
Don't say
One
Google.
is, no, definitely not Google. If you go to Google or ChatGPT, you will get amazing content made, but it will not help, honestly. And as you said, credibility comes in from a story which is personal.
Exactly.
I have
yes.
always believed that instead of looking for a topic, the problem with most of us as speakers, why we get stuck is, यार मुझे ये topic पे बोलना है. We should avoid that. We should look at everything and anything could be a potential speech. So you'll not believe, and thank you for asking this question. My project number 5 in the old competent communicator manual was ready even before I had delivered my project number 3. That was
What was project 5? What was
as
it?
I was.
क्या था उसका objectives?
Brilliant, you were breaking. Ron asked, what was the objective of Project 5, if you remember?
Your body speaks.
Your body speaks. Yes, yes. So
Yes.
the original CC, beautiful CC
Original
manuals.
CC.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I had that speech ready because I had an experience and I said, wow, this is a perfect thing to build a story and narrate it effectively. I think one skill that we all should develop, irrespective of whether you want to be a speaker or a leader, is the power of observation. There are so many things happening all around us. You can pick up stories from anywhere. And thanks to one of my ex-Toastmaster, I don't know if he's rejoined Toastmasters, I've not connected with him for some time now. He recommended that I release videos. वो बोलता है कि ज्ञान बांटते रहता है तो ज्ञान वीडियो में डालो. So he suggested that you make videos, and every week he gave me a challenge to release it every week. And that made me think, यार हर week मैं बोलूं तो किस चीज पे बोलूं? So slowly from theoretical topics, I moved on to experiential topics. So something happened. How do I correlate it to something which can be positive or can motivate someone to do something different, right? So if you are able to build observational skills, there are so many stories within you, around you, where you are a part in some form or the other. And that is the best story that anyone can tell. And please remember, no one is judging you. It's all about making that attempt, telling your story. And if you want to add a message, since you asked Joe and Ro both, people get carried away by saying कि हर speech में message होना चाहिए. Not necessary. It's not really an important thing. But yes, if you are contesting on a particular topic for speech contest, yes, there needs to be some sort of a messaging, some connect. But sometimes it could be just a hilarious experience sharing in a storytelling format. And if you attended the eloquence, you heard the storyteller talk about
she's fabulous.
Right? How things can be different. I don't think I have amazing vocal variety, but I do try to make an impact when I'm using dialogues through pauses or slight stretch of sound. Do something which you're comfortable with. If you try to ape someone else, you'll not become better. You will only end up being a monkey. So use your observational skills, build your own stories, and create an impact.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic. So we are getting into the nuts and bolts of creating an impact on stage. So I think what we are getting from you is your personal stories can create a lot of impact, especially if you convey them with emotion, convey them with authenticity. Somebody mentioned in the chat, which is very good. Can you give us some examples from? Do you remember some couple of speeches which really created impact on you, and why? Other than say world champ on the audience, yeah. Let's put aside the world championship speeches for now. I'm talking of just Aam Aadmi Toastmasters like you and I, who have created impact. Do you remember any? Can you give us some examples of that? I'll also share a couple which I have also remembered. But go ahead.
So while this is not a winner speech, but it's something which was a part of a world champion speech, he did not win. There's this story about Roscoe's words. Roscoe's words was the title. Roscoe
Okay.
is a person,
Roscoe. Okay.
and I love it for multiple reasons. One is the energy that the person brought onto the stage, the visual imagery that the person created. I was actually running with him when he was, going through the entire story. The impact that it left on me is, as I said earlier, it need not be a guru or a saint who's talking. It could be a simple, normal, common man who's talking about someone who influenced or impacted his life, and he's sharing the story in a manner which you feel a part of it. You're so engrossed, so involved. And I feel that's one story which has left an impact. While yes, world champions are amazing, it's good to have those stories. Then there was the story which, some of you may not relate to this, but we have what we call as advanced manuals in the good old system.
Yes.
So I was in
Yes.
Singapore, and there was this girl. I know in the context it is forbidden, but the title of her speech was "Have Sex Every Day." Okay.
Well,
I was
that's a
sitting
way
on
to
the
create impact. Yeah.
I was on the first seat, and I was like, if this was in India, we would have actually asked her to change the subject line. Right? You need to understand sensitivities exist. I sat through the speech. Everything was so natural, so beautiful, no obscenity brought in. And that's an impact. Now think about it. Our minds automatically get tuned to think in a different manner. But when she spoke and when she started and when she's finished, I was like, wow. And as a parting joke, we were joking about it, saying this is how it is. And she was very friendly. And she also shared, when I shared this topic with my boyfriend, he was like, are you crazy? Are you going to talk about this? No, you can't. You will expose my personal life. But then when she explained the topic, he was fine. I said, good. What I said was good. This was not a project 5. And project 5
So-
was your body speaks.
Yes.
So-
Yes, that's a good one. So basically, her vulnerability on stage created the impact. Her authenticity, her original voice created. I mean, a lot of speeches I hear in meetings is basically sounds like a Wikipedia article, and that will never create impact because
Sorry to
a
use
part
this
of
word,
you
but it's theatrics. Most of the time, people who want to create an impact, they feel if you're in the face, then.
Well, I don't don't necessarily disagree or agree with that, because theatrics do play a role in creating an impact if done rightly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I won't take theatrics off the completely. And I have used it many times effectively
As relevant.
to
Namak swad anusar.
Yeah, see, as veteran Toastmasters, we are called to give education sessions quite often, and a little bit of theatrics does elevate the boredom. I don't know, Brillian, you were not there, but long time back, I think it was like 7-8 years ago, I was supposed to demonstrate some new features in the then Toastmaster International website, right? And it was the evening session, like I had been given the last slot, right? And I know the audience was tired, fed up, they just wanted to go home, but this was like the district had mandated, so we had to give that. And of course they caught hold of me to do it, and I was like, okay, boss, log so jane wale, nobody's going to listen. So what I did is, first thing I did theatrics is I kind of went on stage and I told people, guys, we have to pretend. You have to pretend that I am Steve Jobs and I am demonstrating the latest version of the iPhone, right? And you have to cheer and clap for me as every feature I show in the website, you have to clap as if it's an iPhone feature, And the audience really got into it, and I don't think they remembered anything about that, what the features were, but they just had a good time, and we had that. So theatrics also plays a role to create
that
an
I
impact.
would say is what you have planned, right? With
No, it was spur of the
consent
moment,
of the
but,
audience, right?
yeah.
I mean, with the consent of the audience.
Yes.
Now, for example, just imagine you are listening, and I don't want to highlight anyone, but there is this channel where this person comes in and transforms people by just doing one tikka or just doing one slab, and there's so much of body language. There is heavy usage of body language. I'm saying there are times when it is relevant, or you could stage manage it. As long as the audience is along with you, it's still fine. But in a normal scenario, I'm just saying, forget about the demo, right? If it had been a simple speech which you had to give in front of 1,000 people who had no clue about who you are or what you do, that may not be really acceptable. So yeah, there is a place and time for everything to do. Even theatrics used effectively, swad namak anusar, namak swad anusar makes the big
So
difference.
Yeah,
here
Joe,
I
go
have
ahead.
a question for Brillian and Ron. So what you say, like bring your own personal stories and that will make impact. Theatrics swadanusar. But as a newcomer, to reach that level of impact take time. Even if you have a good story, it's not easy
I
to put it
disagree.
in
I
the
disagree with that completely, that statement. Newcomer, old comer, non-comer, non-goer, that doesn't matter. From P,
Chalo.
I've seen beautiful P1 speeches, icebreakers, which have created impact. It's just
Fair
that
enough, fair
you have
enough.
to make that effort to figure out what about me, what about my topic, what about my content will create an impact with the audience, and then just go for it. Because also a very important part of impact, which Brilliant will agree, is courage. Because you're going to fall on your flat on the face, and I've done that many times. I'm sure Brilliant has also. If things don't work out and you try to go for an impact and you end up like an accident, so it happens. So I don't
Yeah,
agree
but
with that newcomer at all.
okay, let's keep newcomer aside. Let's take the disagreement outside the podcast. Chalega. But that was not my question. My
Oh, sorry.
question was, so my question was, overall, we have always debated entertainment or information. Who will win? End of the day, unfortunately, in 21st century, what I am seeing is entertainment wins. More than information, more than news, more than impact, right? So that's where I feel like, doesn't theatrics play a very important role? Not just Swadanusar, like maybe more than Swadanusar, it's more
Let
like a
Brilliant
challenge.
take this.
Yeah, because
So,
entertainment wins. That's what I've seen.
so Joe, again, I'll say it's contextual, right? Entertainment will always win because we are used to looking life in a different manner. Now,
Okay.
for example, are you here, as I call it, AEIOU? Are you here to impress, express, or just be you?
Okay.
Right?
Brilliant and his
If you
acronyms.
and if you look at it, if you're able to express yourself freely without the fear of CLKK, as they say, I'm well known for CLKK, right? Joe,
Can
you
you
know,
please tell what is
What is
CLKK? Because we
CLKK?
don't know.
चार
Yeah,
लोग
we.
क्या कहेंगे,
Okay. Oh
right?
my God.
We fear
Please
of
leave reactions there though. Like audience, please do react for this PJ, PLKK, चार लोग क्या कहेंगे.
Somebody
I
in the
did
chat has mentioned infotainment, which is, I think, an amalgamation of entertainment and information.
an
absolutely,
information.
That's a very valid thing.
So it doesn't require what I call as entertainment only. If you're able to present it effectively, I think you can make it entertaining. Have you ever seen a newscaster not do entertainment? It's information shared, but hota hai na thoda bahut. They have some element of theatrics, some
Let's
element
not
of this and that.
let's not take names, but yeah, जनता जवाब हमेशा चाहती है. I get it.
Acha, somebody has
Yes.
asked what is AEIOU? Brilliant, can you
Yeah. So
elaborate?
Cyril has
Oh,
asked,
okay.
what is AEIU?
Like it sounds like a
AEIO means, are you here
EIEIO.
for expressing? Are you here for expressing, impressing, O or BU? YOU ka U ka U ka. AEIO. So
Are
if
you
you're
here
here
for expressing, impressing,
expressing
or
or being
be you? That is AEIU. Wow.
AEIO.
Okay. Cool,
ऐसे ही
cool.
कुछ तो देना ना.
नहीं,
Arey,
बढ़िया.
Brilliant.
So somewhere
This is actually a simple acronym, because you should see some of Brilliant's
I'll
other
remember
ones.
CLKK and AEIU. I'll
He's the only
remember. I'm
one
sure
who
audience will also
was
remember.
the only one who uses 27 letters of the alphabets,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's numerologically correct.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
So coming back to, go ahead, Johan.
Yeah. So back to you,
So-
Brilliant. So you were saying.
So somewhere, in the garb of entertainment or getting carried away, we forget about what is it that we are trying to achieve. Everything can be achieved through entertainment because of two or three things. One is it connects well with the audience, right? It is always said, if you want to connect, make sure that you make them laugh, you bring in humor. Look at every movie. Every movie is made for entertainment, but there are some serious movies, there are some dark movies, there are humorous movies. Which ones do you like? I personally believe, and I personally like movies which make me laugh. I love crime series as well. So you can bring in crime with laughter, like CID, right? So at times you feel that it's only about one element, but we should look at it in a sliced and diced manner where, yes, entertainment sells, so you can use it as long as you are comfortable. It should not be done because I have seen, as Ron said, it's not about a fresher or an experienced person. It's about how effective are you in enjoying the entire process. If you enjoy, nothing like it. There is one world champion speech which a Toastmaster has replicated verbatim, body language included. But is it the same impact? The answer is no. It's good for entertainment. It's good to see, it's like a mockery that you do. It's like a monkey do, monkey see.
Okay,
So for
to
me,
summarize just, Ron, no, go ahead, Brillian, please go
no,
ahead.
so for me, yes, entertainment helps, but what is important is you enjoy the entire process. If you're not, it doesn't help.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
so summarize, one is be observant, take stories from your own life and start observing things. And second, be authentic, be you. Entertainment ho, na ho, that is the second question you're saying, but be yourself, be happy where you are, and that is where you will start creating impact on speeches, right?
yeah,
Yes,
so now I want
Ron.
to, so now this is supposed to be these are all very high level kind of ideas and topics. Let's get down to a little bit level of the composing the speeches practically. So suppose next week somebody has to give a speech. Can we think of practical ideas to create impact? Now I'll start off immediately with one idea, and this is one speech which had created a big impact. It's a very interesting this thing. So creating you just think a little out of the box. Now there was this lady who was going to give a speech about blind people, about how the blind learn, how the blind live, because she was a trainer for the blind. So she came, it was late evening, she came to the club, and when her name was called out by the team mod, the moment she came on stage, all the lights went off. We were literally in the hall in pitch darkness, little bit of light from outside, but completely. And she gave that entire speech about the blind in darkness. Now just imagine what impact that created. A little small idea, just switch off a light, right? And I mean, I remember that speech now. If she had given that speech with lights on, no impact.
Right.
It was a wonderful speech, but that lights off, and we literally could figure out how it was to be blind. I mean, we could just imagine. And these are the kind of things where you should, I mean, there is no formula for it. You just have to look for those innovations, look for the hatke ideas, which will, and I have this motto, don't be boring. When you go on stage, don't be boring. Be stupid, be flops, do whatever you want, but don't be boring, because for me, that is the worst thing.
So for
Anyway,
me,
so
I think it's a cap that works. CAP, your context, your actors in your story, and most important is the P, which is the props that you will use. Switching off the light in itself is a prop.
The prop, yes, in a way it's a
right?
prop.
And
Yes.
if you want to make it humorous, you make it clap, CLAP. The CAP remains the same. The L is you bring in elements of laughter, which could be a joke,
humor.
which would, yes, it's a humor. So there are multiple ways and means. It's only about making sure that your framework is ready. And I think that's where many people struggle, because they are looking at saying, yaar, mujhe ye karna, rather than looking at what kind of an impact they need to make and what is the context that they need to set, what kind of people or actors, as I call, do they bring in. They just start writing a speech, and then that's where.
Yeah, that is one thing which is there, that when you start writing a speech, impact should be there in mind, which is not when people write a speech. So that is something you have to bake into your thought process also. Now let's get some crowdsource ideas. Guys, can you just type in what is somebody just said BIEWA, which is Brillian is
Brilliant
excellent
is
with
excellent with acronyms. Wow.
no, this is not
Go
right.
ahead, you
It should be
Go
Brilliant
ahead,
is
you are.
excessive with acronyms, not excellent. Yeah. So
Yeah, E में
yeah,
जो भी
so
डाल दो.
let's crowdsource some impact ideas. I want practical ideas, and which can be conveyed quickly to each other. Ideas to create impact with the speech, practical, small tips, ideas, anything that you guys can think of.
You
Let's
can just,
crowdsource.
yeah, you can just
Just
put it
type
on
Type
the
it in the
chat.
chat, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
just type
I
it in the
think I
chat.
saw Cyril in the room. So Cyril, your ideas also, please. District champion.
Yes. Brilliant.
Yes.
Don't. This Cyril is going to be on the podcast soon, so we're going to
Don't give
save the.
don't give away the what do you say, the secrets. Don't give away the
Yes,
secrets, right?
yes. So,
That's
but
in
yeah,
suspense.
guys, you guys can type in the chat ideas, anything that feels that can create
Anything that you
that
guys
can
have
help
seen
others. Yes.
in your clubs also, like where you saw someone giving a interesting, what do you say, speech in your club, and you felt like, "Arey wah, kya baat hai." So anything that's small,
Or
big,
something
whatever.
strange or different that you did that created an impact, even if it's a small impact, it's okay. Sangeeta
Okay,
is saying
Sangeeta,
stories. Yes. Tidbits from history.
Tidbits from history, anything that is a story. Okay, tidbits from history.
Stories create impact. Completely agree.
Srijita says light,
Nice.
self-depreciative humor. Oh, that comes in the engaging humor part. That's true. I broke pen in my icebreaker. Ron, you would remember. Santosh says he broke his pen. Why, Ron?
But
Do
ice
you
तोड़ना
remember?
था यार. Pen क्यों तोड़ा तूने?
But ये याद रहेगा. So this is impact, right? ये याद रहेगा. ये
No,
conversation.
Santosh created quite an impact with his icebreaker, I remember. But that's not the impact we are looking for.
Impact is
course,
impact. Like let's not put them in boxes, right? Like that's not what we are. Like,
oh no,
impact is
you should, Santosh, you should hear the P joke from Santosh, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
But
That's
you
a different thing.
remember.
Yes,
Ron,
but
you
yes,
just
okay,
said,
okay,
like,
come
I
on, yeah,
remember.
okay, I give it. Yes, it was impactful.
So Dharmesh says humorous speech creates an impact. I have a question both for Ron and Brillian here. From the day I have come into Toastmasters, everybody, every mentor, everybody tells me, humor add karo, you'll win the contest. Humor add karo, it'll create an impact. But what of people who are naturally not humorous? Not everybody is naturally witty and humorous and like Ron and Brillian. What do these people do? Is there a way out? Like without humor also, you can give great speeches.
Before that, I'll
Absolutely.
quickly just summarize what some of the things. Reinforcing a message with different stories. Impact can be subjective at times. Impact comes when people are able to relate with their own or other life experiences. So relatability can create a lot of impact. Like Brilliant
Mahesh says
explained.
catchy phrases and repeated.
I see something in you. I don't know what it is. Yes,
yeah.
that's a brilliant for impact, and I think that's one of the easiest thing to do. Right, a catchphrase in a speech can create impact, provided
Thank
it's
you,
a good
Mahesh.
one.
Yes.
Thanks, Mahesh.
So back to you, Brilliant. Humor. How much is humor important?
Not mandatory, to be very honest. If you're comfortable, go with the flow. If not, make an attempt. If you succeed, good. If not, continue with what you are doing. As long as you are able to enjoy what you're doing, I think humor is a facilitator. The facilitator should not become the main story. Many a times you've heard this, right? May not the PowerPoint become the presentation.
Exactly. Yes.
It's the power in a point that should be impactful, not the PowerPoint. So if you're able to, I'll share this World Championship speech which everyone should watch of Jock Elliott. No excessive body language, deadpan expression most of the time, but impactful. When I was division director, Ron, you may remember we had a meeting, a division conference in L&T, and we had one member who stood on the lectern and conveyed a very powerful message. No body language, no humor, but very powerful, very impactful. So I think humor is a good way to break the ice and connect with people, but it's not mandatory accordingly. If you're comfortable, do it. If not, attempt bringing in humor. And if you don't find success in it, it's okay to continue with your own style. Find something that works with you, works for you. What do you say, Ron?
Humor, humor can definitely create impact, but Joanne is right in that way, is that for somebody new to public speaking, humor can be very daunting. Personally, I've noticed in nowadays in our district, in our clubs, humor is not given as much importance as we used to give it earlier, as a tool for giving impactful speeches, for giving good speeches. Our earlier manuals used to have an emphasis on humor, and now I think pathways, if anything has been lost in pathways, according to me, my personal opinion, part about humor has been lost a bit in pathways, because pathways has become a little serious. But again, to Joanne's point, yes, humor, good, well thought out, self-deprecating, as somebody said, humor can create a amazing impact on this thing, but difficult. If I was saying that, okay, use humor in your next speech, it would be very difficult for many people to do that. And Joanne, there is no such thing as a person who's not funny. It is just a matter of, like he said, that guy gave a deadpan speech, but the content was so interesting and different that the audience just went berserk laughing.
Yeah, thanks, Ron, for bringing that. I mean, humor doesn't necessarily mean that the person delivering it should be laughing. If you are misunderstanding what the person says, that can also bring in humor.
Double
That's-
meanings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could
I
actually.
think somebody made a good point that when you start your speech, the way you start your speech can also create an impact.
So
Absolutely.
Amit has put in that, did you all think that Cyril Dim, the latest world champion, right? Winning speech, he starts by saying the contest chair sounds more Zimbabwean than me. It was humorous, but seemed manufacturers. Somehow he pulled it off though. The Cyril Dim, who is the reigning world
All
champion.
humor is manufactured at the end of the day, but it's just how you do it. Yeah.
Yes.
So that
So
very good point, Ron and Brilliant. Let me ask you guys. You guys always sound so witty and funny, right? How
Twitty
much
and
is
funny, yes.
manufactured? Yeah, but how much is manufactured? Please tell us the truth. Do you guys sit down and think about all these acronyms and kya bole, kaisa funny kare, or is it everything natural?
I'll let Brilliant go first.
so it's a mix of both, to be very honest. There is a structure in mind, and then you start working on how to do it. So I can share something very interesting which happened at Agnel. I was invited to do a session, and I still remember there was a long drive and I was wondering what to do. So I made some notes, and to make it interesting, using the BEIWA philosophy true, I came up with two acronyms: fish tawa fry for non-vegetarians and veg tawa fry for vegetarians. And I used those as a concept. Now, was it manufactured? The answer is no. I had a thought process, and as soon as I came in, the first thing that I encountered was food. So I said, okay, food hai, खाने के बारे में बहुत बातचीत चल रही है. So let me just try to blend it. So somewhere you manufacture something, but at the same time, you have the power to customize. It is like the IKEA furniture. You carry some pieces of it always with you. And when you find the right piece that matches, you present it, and voila, you have a table. You can have a topic, and then the table topic is ready.
So to put it like very clearly, it's like today I'm attending this meeting, I'm getting a lot of humorous praises and acronyms from Brilliant. Next time I'm going there for a table topic or a speech, I'm definitely gonna say CLKK or AIOU. So that is like picking something and putting it in the right place, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
I think there are two types of humor. One is what we do on the fly, which is basically different versions of PJs, right? And that's fun also. But if you want to craft a really impactful speech, then the humor you need will have to be manufactured. And the manufactured by which means it has to be well thought out, rehearsed to the point that it feels kind of unrehearsed, if you know what I mean. Rehearsed till you feel unrehearsed kind of thing. And then internalize it. Exactly. Internalize that speech. And then when you give it, the impact is very different. But you have to create that, manufacture that. I'm talking about speeches, not like impromptu speaking or a table topic or something where your natural sense of humor can take over and it's like autopilot,
No,
if you are used to doing it. Yeah.
Ron, I'll tell you, we had the Division M IPL practices and we were practicing for the IPL breaking news. So we didn't know what topic we would ever get in a breaking news. Like we were completely unaware of that. But we did manufacture a way that breaking news was done. I delivered the breaking news in eloquence IPL, and some people came in, "Hey, you knew the topic." I had absolutely no idea about the topic, right? But it came out funny because I had manufactured the structure. I did manufacture in my head that if I get breaking news, I will call a reporter on source. I will say some punchlines, like for example, Janta Jawab Chahti Hai, District 98 wants to know the answer, Division wants to. All these were manufactured. So completely agree with Ron. You do need to practice and internalize some parts of your humor, and the rest is like Baba Janta Hai.
Yeah,
Not
but
brilliant, but Baba.
One part
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
which I want to share is sometimes manufacturing it and not tailoring it based on your audience can have a negative impact as well. So sometimes you go prepared with a
Exactly.
particular kind of an audience in mind,
Hmm.
and then suddenly you realize, "Arey, ye to kuch alag hi hai," but you have come here to deliver a session in front of doctors, and suddenly you see engineers. If you don't change the context, it's over. So the IKEA model, I'll say, manufacture a lot of it, keep parts of your puzzle ready, and use it in the right way, in the right context and the audience.
Okay, I want to take a chat here. Mahesh says, I think people want to feel the speech being taken on an emotional journey. Humor strikes one of the emotions, however. There are other emotions that can also be banged on to create impact. What do you guys think?
Yes. And I think one of the impactful, I don't want to call it speech, is a reference in a speech is something where a person loses something or someone that has a lot of emotional connect. And I
That
have
speaks to
personal
authenticity.
experience.
Yes, authenticity. Yes.
Because there was one particular instance where two speakers were so equal on all terms, but the audience voted as the best speaker for the person who had that personal loss story. If I were, to be very honest, neutral without looking at that loss, probably the other person would have won. But as Mahesh has rightly said, emotions play an, I would say, encouraging part in deciding the winner, even with judges. So you know what I'm saying. That's why I've stopped judging. Because every time I feel, "Arey yaar, isko to aana hi nahi chahiye." So you start getting that restlessness. But
Let's not
important.
go there, please. Let's not go there. Yeah, I'm
Let's
already
be
in enough
civil.
trouble as it is.
Let's be civil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Joanne, can we kind of summarize in a very practical sense what we've kind of discussed so far, kind of in a way that we feel it could be useful for going ahead in the next speech, in the next this thing?
Okay, so next time you want to go for your club meeting, and we are not talking about contests here, we are just talking about daily speeches, club
Giving
meetings.
speeches, yes.
Giving speeches, something, remember, start with observing. That's the first place where you go. That's what Brillian says, and Ron agrees with. Especially for all the new Toastmasters here, this was a great learning. Start observing things. It's not necessary that you look at your project title or your project. That is secondary. First, observe the events, the people around you. Second, in that observations, what do you feel made an impact on you personally? How it affected positively. That's what Brillian said. Affect to negative bhi ho sakta hai, I agree. But what was that positive affecting event that you had? Think about that, and then remember one key message that I think I'll take is everything can become a speech. That's what Brillian has told us. Everything and anything you can convert into a speech. You just need to think out of a box.
Impactful speech.
Impactful speech, yes. Everything can become an impactful speech. You need to just think out of the box. You can switch off light, and then that becomes impactful. And we also discuss about theatrics, how important theatrics is. It can be important, but it's not necessary ki har cheez theatrics hi hona chahiye. The way you guys said, like you can stand deadpan and still give an impactful speech.
Joanne, I would like to interrupt because I just remembered one very cool thing I saw on stage. So I don't know whether it was Toastmasters or it's outside Toastmasters. And when you're talking about theatrics and creating impact, so this guy came on stage and he wanted to get the audience attention. So he just stamped his foot twice and he clapped. And he stamped his foot twice and he clapped. stamped his foot twice and he clapped. Are you getting where I'm going
We
with
will
this?
rock you.
Exactly. Slowly, the audience started doing the same thing. They started stamping their feet, clapping, stamping their feet, clapping, And soon the entire auditorium was shaking with that tub, tub, doom, tub, tub, doom. Not a word was spoken by that guy, but he had the audience in his palm of his hands. That is also a way of creating impact,
Wow.
Absolutely.
I'll use that maybe in my next club meeting.
Yeah, but just make
to
sure the stage
start
is strong enough for that. Otherwise, you'll go straight down.
Wrong. This
There's
I
no,
कहाँ
know.
से आ
This
गया?
no,
this I
nothing to do
know.
with
Okay.
you. I'm just saying generally because even I get scared on some
I
stages.
know that. I know. I know you have a habit of cracking jokes. No issues. Amit has a very interesting question for you, Brilliant. Request Brilliant, could you please give an example of a story that you may have identified in the last 2-3 days from a real life experience that you may think about converting into a speech?
Okay, I
Last one.
think just एक problem है. 4 days ago I did it. So चलेगा क्या?
चलेगा, चलेगा. हम लोग काम चला लेंगे.
This is humor.
बोल दो.
So, I was about to deliver a keynote for a women's leadership program, and I was sitting there thinking, what should I talk? What should I be speaking about? And I was observing, as I said, observation skills gives you a lot. And most of the ladies were talking about the challenges, this, that. So I was thinking, how do I create an impact that despite all of this, I was the only man in that session, get the impact towards the speech and what I want to convey as my message. So what I did is I used my mother's story or my story when I was a kid. We used to stay in a place in a land far, far away called as Kalyan. And my mother used to work in a place called Victoria Terminus, now called as CST, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. She used to drop me at a station called as Dombivli in a creche.
I'm from Dubai.
Yes, and she would get back into another fast train, go to VT. And I wanted to understand that every lady today has multiple challenges balancing home, work, child, or a family, son, brother, whoever it may be. And I was thinking about how can I use a reference, and that's when the story came up. My mother's story and what I was a part of that as a child, 1-year-old child. How she got down and someone tried to snatch a chain from her neck, and it was just near my neck, and she just pushed this person, said chal hut, and she saved both, right? She's a thin lady. If you look at her, you will not believe that she could have done that, right? So I started this speech, as Ron said, impact, by using 2 words. I said chal hut. Okay. And everyone was looking at me saying, wow, what was that? And then I correlated it to what happened in the earlier session, saying that this is not the 10C from Sangeeta's session, but this is what a thin lady said when someone tried to snatch the chain from her and she pushed him away. And that's how I built the story. So anything, as I said, if you have observational skill, if you're able to retain a lot of it, which story will come in handy is what only you can think of. Again, IKEA model. I'll have to think of an acronym for IKEA, honestly.
Oh,
but
good Lord.
But
I want to share something about Brillian, guys. Brillian is one of the most observant people that you will know, in terms of he's always looking for opportunities to things like he's always sharing something that is written behind a rickshaw, for example.
auto ke piche kya hai?
Auto ke piche kya hai?
That's actually a good point, Many times I feel we do see things that impact us, but we forget about it. Like we just go on with our life and we don't pause and think about it.
Yeah, so our lives are rich enough to create, give us
huge content,
huge content, impactful content, provided we start thinking that way when we are writing a speech. I would say move from the Wikipedia model to the personal, what would be opposite of Wikipedia model.
In the
of
good old
writing
days,
speech.
we used to have those notepads, right, where we would write. So every time I would travel and something interesting I could see, I would make a note in the notepad. So today we have something like notes. Anything that I find interesting from any session, I make a note of it and keep it handy. So it could become one reference point for a future speech.
I want to peek into that notepad.
But I think we've forgotten the art of actually writing, and that's what is killing a lot of creativity coming into the, the
Okay, so I
fore.
would like to open up for questions now. Sorry, Brilliant, you're done? Or?
Yeah. No.
So I'd like to open up for questions. We have 5 minutes now to wind up.
So
Right. So any questions for me, Brilliant, Joanne, or for anybody, for the general Janta as well? Please put
Rajesh
in.
Dubey has asked us, Ron, brilliant. How much importance weightage should we give to the specified speech timeline? Because additional 1-2 minutes do help speakers in becoming more comfortable while preparing speech and giving speech. I know, strictly speaking, timeline is an important parameter to be effective speaker, but how much importance should we give? Maybe I think it is not just about contest, but in a non-contest scenario also.
So I'll just say before I hand it to Brilliant for this answer is, I would make a direct connection between impact and time. You cannot give an impactful speech at the time and give it a long, boring one also. They are mutually not compatible. Impact means being very succinct, being to the point, getting to the point, and short and sweet. And that creates impact. So I've never had an impactful speech which went on for hours and hours, or even for 15-20 minutes, although it's possible.
Brilliant. What about you? What do you think? Time kitna important?
Time is the only thing which I think can make the difference. So the entire weightage should be on time. I'm sounding a bit too harsh on this, but if, for example, you are expected to create an impact in 1 minute and you say that I need extra time, and I don't think you are an effective speaker, because here we are talking about an effective speaker. You may be a great speaker. You may be a great motivational speaker. I have seen speakers who are exceptional, but when it comes to sticking to time, that also tells a lot about how effectively you're able to compress the entire message in the time slot given. My rule of thumb is you should have a story which you can talk for a minute and up to an hour.
Wow.
I would think impact is like currency. Suppose you start your speech impactfully. In the first 5 minutes, you've created a bang impact. And then you speak for 35 minutes without really creating any impact. That 5 minutes of impact is completely lost. You should know when to shut up, at the end of the day. And that is a very big part, I feel, of creating impact, being to the point. Like Brilliant said, it's one of the critical components. And you can create impact in 5 seconds also, by the way. Like,
yes.
Chal Hat, how much time does it take to say Chal Hat?
True. Absolutely.
And I love that. Have a story which you can say in 1 minute as well as 1 hour, something to think about, something I think as prospective speakers we need to work on, because I have never thought about a story that way.
And Joe and Ro both, many a times, depending upon how your previous speaker or future speaker will be giving you time, you may be asked to cut short your speech or extend your speech. So you need to stay ready, as Craig Valentine had said, so that you don't need to get ready.
True.
Very interesting concept.
Amit has said, is there anything other than personal stories that can make a difference? Yes, there are so many things. Humor, theatrics. What else, Brilliant? Quickly.
So, I would like to look at life from 2 angles. One is, when we talk of stories, personal stories, I would say something that has happened to me. And a section of it would be something which I have seen or observed. Right? It did not happen to me, but I saw something happen to my friend, to a group of people. I was there as a part of the entire experience and the environment. But generally, if you're not a part of those stories, the credibility falls down, right? For example, if I'm not there when a particular incident happened and I'm talking with confidence about it, I'm actually lying. And audience are very smart these days. They can easily make out when someone is faffing and copying. There was this instance which happened in our district, not our district right now, but the good old District 82, where a contestant ripped off the entire content from Russell Peters. Right? Because at that time,
famous comedian for people who may not know.
Yeah. And those days, no one had heard about Russell Peters because YouTube and all of that was not so, as we say, popular. Right? It used to exist, but no one knew about it. But we could sense something was wrong. I mean, as a part of the audience member, there was
No
no
authenticity.
connect, there was no authenticity. The
No
credibility
authenticity,
fell
no
flat.
impact.
Yeah, and it will happen because Russell Peter will make a joke not based on India or not based on our community and what happens here, right? He'll make a joke, even though he'll make a joke which is more authentic to his experiences.
To him.
Yeah.
And you know what, Joe and Ro both, when you're trying to fake it, your expressions do not match the delivery. And that's when the audience will pick it up saying, "Ye to kuch to gadbad hai daya, pata karo."
Okay, so now we are almost out of time. Let's start winding up. Joanne, can you give us a word of thanks for Dr. Brillian SK, please?
Word of thanks. I'll tell you, Brillian, I am so honored.
Congress ka vote nahi, BJP ka vote nahi. Thanks ka vote.
Somebody is not on mute. I request, please be on mute. Thank you.
I think,
yeah. Thank you. First of all, Brilliant, thank you so much. This is the first time I'm talking to you like one-on-one. I've heard so many great things about you, and I know why today. Even if like this is like an unstructured and a conversation that we are having in this evening, I have got so many great learnings from you. Things that as a new speaker, someone new coming into Toastmasters, I don't think about, because we just go with the manual. Organization karo, body conclusion, humor dalo. That's all we know that about speaking. But you have given us such great tips. Thank you so much for taking out your precious time. And thank you, Ron, for inviting Brillian. It's because of you that we have Brillian here. And thank you, the lovely audience. We have like almost 25, average 20 people in the room right now. Thank you guys for taking out your precious time and coming here. This is Joe and Ro Talk Toastmasters. Our aim in this podcast is to just bring veteran and experienced Toastmasters so that they can share their learnings. You know, these pearls of wisdom, which are not structured as Brilliant says, sab kuch manufactured nahi hota. In the conversation, these pearls of wisdoms come out, and that is like, like today for this evening, Brilliant, you are my mentor, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much. Now,
thank you so much, Brilliant.
Ron, do you want to say something, or do we like
let's
talk about the next?
Who we have for next time? Let's unveil the next edition speaker and the topic as well. Just for this, we'll of course be sharing the poster. I would request everybody to share on their club groups so that more people can join. And this recording will also be shared online for you to go through it again if you wish to do that.
Spotify में भी डाल दें.
सब में जाएगा, सब में जाएगा.
जहाँ डाल सकते हैं,
मेल बॉक्स में भी आएगा, चिट्ठी में भी आएगा.
मैं forward करूँगा.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so next session.
Okay, so the next, I hope you guys enjoyed this session. This is like a conversation. Thank you, DTM Brillian. But for the next session, we'll have it on 12th July, Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. And we have a humorous and evaluation champion joining us on 12th. That is DTM Nikhil Salvi. And he is going to talk about, let me tell it in simply, how to cook a tasty speech, essential ingredients from a master chef speaker, DTM Nikhil Salvi. I hope you guys will take out your precious time once again on 12th July and join us at 8 p.m. back here with Joe and Ro Toastmasters talking.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Brilliant. Do you want to say something signing off?
Quickly.
Thank you so much for inviting me and making me the guinea pig of the first episode. So you know what are the things that you need to take care of. Jokes apart, I had fun. It's always good to have such conversations because we always get carried away by saying everything ऐसे structure में होना चाहिए, ये होना चाहिए, ये language होना चाहिए. आज तो no grammarian, no counter, nothing, no timer. But still, it's interesting and good to hear perspectives. And also when you share such things, there are so many nostalgic moments that come to the fore. You feel, wow, you're reliving those days. Thank you for giving that to me, Joe and Ro. Thanks for calling me on your po.